dream and I don't ever wanna wake up. I think I've had enough of this life, and I could lay here with you and watch the world turn, never say a word, drifting away on the various notes. She says she liked the way my voice hits the highs and the lows, how it reminded her of home, a familiar tone. I think we've been here before, a familiar zone. It's just all the days blend into one. It's but a speck of a world under infinite sun. So I chase the in-betweens of what I say and what I mean, hoping for a better grasp. But it's life I lead and a life I need, and what my life means. I've wasted too much time trying to hide my feelings. Now I just want me and you to watch the sunset, just soak in the view. And if it's all just a dream, then I don't ever wanna wake up. I think I've had enough of this life, and I could lay here with you and watch the world turn, never say a word. And as these seasons change, and they will change, I know these feelings, they will last us till the very end. As the colors start to fade again, your heart guides me through these rising winds. But now the world's so different, yeah, the summer's not the same. But it don't matter, cause I've got you here. I'll stay by your side, my dear. We will have nothing to fear.
Hello! Hi everyone! So nice to see you. I'm trying out a slightly different setup today, so we're gonna see how it goes. Let me just... Hello! Probably not that notable, but I have my computer, my laptop, slightly elevated just because when I'm reading and stuff, I was like, this seems like a better setup. Like if I was playing a video game, I wouldn't be able to do this because I have it propped up on my Nintendo Switch. But right now I can. How have you all been? I went home. That's why I wasn't able to stream. Basically this whole week with school and everything. But then I went and visited home. And I haven't been on Discord or on social media really at all. So it's been like a cool like, it's been just a little bit of a break for me, you know? But yeah, now I'm back. Good. Good, Ashlyn. Sorry, I really hope that didn't just pick up the sloshing water sound. Midterms start tomorrow. Oh, geez. Yeah, my tests, I have a test this week as well, and I had a test last week. And in order for me to go home, I had to skip all of my classes on Friday, and I have 3 classes on Friday, so. Yikes. But I don't know. It's mostly, yeah. The break was good. I got to see some friends and talk to my parents, my dog. I did talk to the dog. Let it be known, I did speak to my dog. He's a year and a half, not even a year and a half old, but he's like 115 pounds. So, but yeah, that's another thing, is that I might be streaming a little less frequently than I was at the beginning, just like what I've been doing the past few weeks, where it's like a stream every like 2 days or something, maybe every 3 days if I can. But because it's like midterms and tests and everything, I really have to like pay attention to school, because you know, school comes first. And I get to register for housing tomorrow, and I'll then know exactly what room I'm living in next year. I have my roommates all picked out, so that's exciting. But yeah. And I know as well, this is, as you probably know if you clicked on this is not a video game stream, this is me reading. And actually, I already own a copy of 20,000 Leagues, I was talking about this last time, as well as the copy I'm reading online for free. And when I visited home, my mom gave me 2 more copies of just free copies she was able to find. And they're like Scholastic, they're like from a book fair. And so that's super cool. And I'm thinking about maybe giving them away at some point if anyone would be interested. I have to figure out how to do that. But yeah. That's about it in terms of beginning things, and I will just now, also I don't usually talk about stuff that happened off stream, but thank you Quicksilver878 for following yesterday. That's cool of you. I was not live. I know that happens sometimes, but this is such a goofy song to be playing right now. Okay, let me pause this. Sorry, baby, no money. And start up, that's not what I wanted. Start up my cute little piano music, chill piano music. And I will begin reading. So today we are starting at chapter 5 in the book. If you would like to see chapters 1 through 4, I have those on my VODs channel on YouTube. It's Camgala VODs, and it's also the last live stream that I did. I attempted to play Don't Starve Together for the first half, so you'd have to skip to about 1 hour and 6 minutes in, I believe, to get to the reading part. But yeah, let me just take a sip of water, because these reading streams are like the most speaking I ever do, so. Alrighty. We're going to be starting with chapter 5, At Random. For some while, the voyage of the Abraham Lincoln was marked by no incident. But one circumstance arose that displayed Ned Land's marvelous skills and showed just how much confidence we could place in him. Off the Falkland Islands on June 30th, the frigate came in contact with a fleet of American whalers, and we learned that they hadn't seen the narwhal. But one of them, the captain of the Monroe, knew that Ned Land had shipped aboard the Abraham Lincoln and asked his help in hunting a baleen whale that was in sight. Anxious to see Ned Land at work, Commander Farragut authorized him to make his way aboard the Monroe. And the Canadian had such good luck that with a right and left shot, he harpooned not 1 whale, but 2, striking the first straight into the heart and catching the other after a few minutes' chase. Assuredly, if the monster ever had to deal with Ned Land's harpoon, I wouldn't bet on the monster. The frigate sailed along the east coast of South America with prodigious speed, By July 30th, we were at the entrance to the Strait of Magellan, abreast of Cabo de las Virgenes. But Commander Farragut was unwilling to attempt this tortuous passageway and maneuvered instead to double Cape Horn. The crew sided with him unanimously. Indeed, were we likely to encounter the narwhal in such a cramped strait? Many of our sailors swore that the monster couldn't negotiate this passageway simply because he's too big for it. Near 3 o'clock in the afternoon on July 6th, 15 miles south of shore, the Abraham Lincoln doubled that solitary islet at the tip of the South American continent that stray rock Dutch seamen had named Cape Horn after their hometown of Horn. Our course was set for the northwest, and the next day our frigate's propeller finally churned the waters of the Pacific. open your eyes, repeated the sailors of the Abraham Lincoln. And they opened amazingly wide. Eyes and spyglasses, a bit dazzled, that's true, by the vista of $2,000, didn't remain at rest for an instant. Day and night we observed the surface of the ocean, and with those nyctaloptic eyes whose ability to see in the dark increased their chances by 50%, had an excellent shot at winning the prize. As for me, I was hardly drawn by the lure of money, and yet was far from the least attentive on board, snatching only a few minutes for meals and a few hours for sleep, come rain or come shine. I no longer left the ship's deck. Sometimes bending over the forecastle railings, sometimes leaning against the stern rail, I eagerly scoured that cotton-colored wake that whitened the ocean as far as the eye could see. And how many times I shared the excitement of general staff and crew when some unpredictable whale lifted its blackish back above the waves. In an instant, the frigate's deck would become densely populated. The cowls over the companionways would vomit a torrent of sailors and officers. With panting chests and anxious eyes, we each would observe the cetacean's movements. I stared until I nearly went blind from a worn-out retina, while counsel, as stoic as ever, kept repeating to me in a calm tone, "If master's eyes would kindly stop bulging, you will see further." But what a waste of energy! The Abraham Lincoln would change course and race after the animal sighted, only to find a baleen whale or a common sperm whale that soon disappeared amid a chorus of curses. I'm here, but only in spirit. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, I know reading isn't everyone's thing, but I don't know, it's strangely calming. And when I was driving the 6 hours back to New York today, I knew that when I got back here, all I would want to do is just chill out, listen to some piano music, and calm down. Also, because I forgot to say it before, just a disclaimer, this book was written in the 1800s, and it's been a while since I've read it, so I'm not sure what type of topics it covers, just that it's a classic, and that I remember it very fondly. So yeah, just feel free to, have this on in the background while you do homework or do something else. But yeah, just vibe with me, That's the goal here. Me sharing something that I really like with other people. Alrighty. However, the weather held good. Our voyage was proceeding under the most favorable conditions. By then it was the bad season in these southernmost regions, because July in this zone corresponds to our January in Europe, but the sea remained smooth and easily visible over a vast perimeter. Ned Land still kept up the most tenacious skepticism. Beyond his spells on watch, he pretended that he had never even looked at the surface of waves, at least while no whales were in sight. And yet the marvelous power of his vision could have performed yeoman service. But this stubborn Canadian spent 8 hours out of every 12 reading or sleeping in his cabin. 100 times I chided him for his unconcern. "Bah," he replied. "Nothing's out there, Professor, and if there is some animal, what chance would we have of spotting it? Can't you see we're just wandering around at random? People say they've sighted the slippery beast again in the Pacific high seas. I'm truly willing to believe it, but 2 months have already gone since then, and judging by your narwhal's personality, it hates growing moldy from hanging out too long in the same waterways. It's blessed with a terrific gift for getting around. Now, Professor, You know even better than I that nature doesn't violate good sense, and she wouldn't give some naturally slow animal the ability to move swiftly if it hadn't a need to use that talent. So if the beast does exist, it's already long gone. I had no reply to this. Obviously, we were just groping blindly. But how else could we go about it? All the same, our chances were automatically pretty limited. Yet everyone still felt confident of success, and not a sailor on board would have bet against the narwhal appearing, and soon. On July 20th, we cut the Tropic of Capricorn at longitude 105 degrees, and by the 27th of the same month, we had cleared the equator on the 110th meridian. These bearings determined, the frigate took a more decisive westward heading and tackled the seas of the Central Pacific. Commander Farragut felt, and with good reason, that it was best to stay in deep waters and keep his distance from continents or islands, whose neighborhoods the animal always seemed to avoid. No doubt, our bosun said, because there isn't enough water for him. So the frigate kept well out when passing the Tuamotu, Marquesas, and Hawaiian Islands, then cut the Tropic of Cancer at longitude 132 degrees and headed for the seas of China. We were finally in the area of the monster's latest antics, and in all honesty, shipboard conditions became life-threatening. Hearts were pounding hideously, gearing up for futures full of incurable aneurysms. I'm sorry, that's a super funny sentence. The entire crew suffered from a nervous excitement that it's beyond me to describe. Nobody ate, nobody slept. 20 times a day, some error in perception, or the optical illusions of some sailor perched at the crosstrees would cause intolerable anguish, and this emotion, repeated 20 times over, kept us in a state of irritability so intense that a reaction was bound to follow. Let me see if I can't change my stream game to ASMR. I think that's better. Okay. And this reaction wasn't long in coming. For 3 months, during which each day seemed like a century, the Abraham Lincoln plowed all the northerly seas of the Pacific, racing after whales it sighted, abruptly veering off course, swerving sharply from one tack to another, stopping suddenly, putting on steam and reversing engines in quick succession, at the risk of stripping its gears, and it didn't leave a single point unexplored from the beaches of Japan to the coasts of America. And we found nothing. Nothing except an immenseness of deserted waves, nothing remotely resembling a gigantic narwhal, or an underwater islet, or a derelict shipwreck, or a runaway reef, or anything the least bit unearthly. So the reaction set in. At first, discouragement took hold of people's minds, opening the door to disbelief. A new feeling appeared on board, made up of 3/10 shame and 7/10 fury. The crew called themselves out-and-out fools for being hoodwinked by a fairy tale, and then grew steadily more furious. The mountains of arguments amassed over a year collapsed all at once, and each man now wanted only to catch up on his eating and sleeping to make up for the time he had so stupidly sacrificed. With typical human fickleness, they jumped from one extreme to the other. Inevitably, the most enthusiastic supporters of the undertaking became its most energetic opponents. This reaction mounted upward from the bowels of the ship, from the quarters of the bunker hands to the mess room of the general staff, and for certain, if it hadn't been for Commander Farragut's characteristic stubbornness, the frigate would ultimately have put back to that cape in the south. But this futile search couldn't drag on much longer. The Abraham Lincoln had done everything it could to succeed and had no reason to blame itself. Never had the crew of an American naval craft shown more patience and zeal. They weren't responsible for this failure. There was nothing to do but go home. A request to this effect was presented to the commander. The commander stood his ground. His sailors couldn't hide their discontent, and their work suffered because of it. I'm unwilling to say that there was mutiny on board, but after a reasonable period of insurgence, Commander Farragut, like Christopher Columbus before him, asked for a grace period of just 3 days more. After this 3-day delay, if the monster hadn't appeared, our helmsman would give 3 turns of the wheel, and the Abraham Lincoln would chart a course towards European seas. This promise was given on November 2nd, It had the immediate effect of reviving the crew's failing spirits. The ocean was observed with renewed care. Each man wanted one last look with which to sum up his experience. Spyglasses functioned with feverish energy. A supreme challenge had been issued to the giant narwhal, and the latter had no acceptable excuse for ignoring this summons to appear. 2 days passed. The Abraham Lincoln stayed at half steam. On the off chance that the animal might be found in these waterways, 1,000 methods were used to spark its interest or rouse it from its apathy. Enormous sides of bacon were trailed in our wake, to the great satisfaction, I must say, of assorted sharks. While the Abraham Lincoln heaved to, its longboats radiated in every direction around it and didn't leave a single point of the sea unexplored. But the evening of November 4th arrived with this underwater mystery still unsolved. At noon the next day, November 5th, the agreed-upon delay expired. After a position fix, true to his promise, Commander Farragut would have set his course for the southeast and leave the northerly regions of the Pacific decisively behind. By then, the frigate lay in latitude 31 degrees 15 north and and longitude 136 degrees 42 east. The shores of Japan were less than 200 miles to our leeward. Night was coming on. 8 o'clock had just struck. Huge clouds covered the moon's disk, then in its final quarter. The sea undulated placidly beneath the frigate's stem post. Just then, I was in the bow, leaning over the starboard rail. Conseil, stationed beside me, stared straight ahead. Roosting in the shrouds, the crew examined the horizon, which shrank and darkened little by little. Officers were probing the increasing gloom with their night glasses. Sometimes the murky ocean sparkled beneath moonbeams that darted between the fringes of two clouds. Then all traces of light vanished into the darkness. Observing Council, I discovered that, just barely, the gallant lad had fallen under the general influence. At least I thought. Perhaps his nerves were twitching with curiosity for the first time in history. Come on, Council, I told him. Here's our last chance to pocket that $2,000. If you will permit my saying so, Council replied. I never expected to win that prize, and the Union government could have promised $100,000 and have been none the poorer. You're right, Council. It turned out to be foolish business after all, and we jumped into it too hastily. What a waste of time, what a futile expense of emotion. 6 months ago, we could have been back in France. In your little apartment, Council answered, in Master's Museum, and by now I would have classified your fossils, and your Barabusa would be ensconced in its cage at the zoo and the botanical gardens, and it would have attracted every curiosity seeker in town. Quite so, Council. And what's more... Sup, gamers, it's me, Jake Paul. Hi, Jake Paul. I almost lost my spot. And what's more, I imagine that people will soon be poking fun at us. To be sure, Council replied serenely. I do think they'll have fun at Master's expense. And must it be said? It must be said. Well then, it will serve you right. How true. When one has the honor of being an expert as you are, one mustn't lay himself open to... Council didn't have time to complete the compliment. In the midst of the general silence, a voice became audible. It was Ned Land's voice, and it shouted, Ahoy! There's the thing in question, abreast of us, to the leeward. Chapter 6, at full steam. Alrighty, here's another little water break. You contributed 4... Oh my god. Oh my god. Well, you've been saving up, haven't you? We're 45% raised, and there's 25 days left. You guys are insane. You guys are crazy. Here I was thinking, Max, I was literally just thinking, at least nobody is gonna call me on that. I just realized I'm still on my starting screen. Here's my reading screen. I was like, not that no one's gonna call me on that, but kind of that, where I was like, at least if there's not that many people viewing, that means not many people are gonna be saving up channel points to spend to force me to eat cheese. And I should have known. I'm literally so stupid. I ordered a cheeseburger from McDonald's today, like off their dollar menu. I'd never had one. And yeah, I was expecting it to have cheese on it, but I wasn't expecting it to be like a Kraft single of like American, and it wasn't really like melted at all. It was just like there, and it was so gross, and I'm stupid is the consensus there. But yeah, let me see. I don't think I have any snacks in my room I want to eat, so $1 cheeseburger from McDonald's, not very good. Well, you get what you pay for. It had like pickles and like ketchup and mustard and onions on it, I think. And even though it was like a tiny bit, it still helped because the initial bite was literally just bread, burger, and cheese, and I was very upset. But I digress. I will go back to reading. We're at chapter 6 at full steam. At this shout, the entire crew rushed towards the harpooner. Commander, officers, mates, sailors, cabin boys, down to engineers leaving their machinery and stokers neglecting their furnaces. You can always ask for no cheese. I know I can ask for no cheese. I am trying to get better at the concept of eating cheese mix. And by get better at the concept, I mean not hate it. Alrighty, here we go. The order was given to stop, and the frigate merely coasted. By then the darkness was profound, and as good as the Canadian's eyes were, I still wondered how he could see, and what he had seen. My heart was pounding fit to burst. But Ned Land was not mistaken, and we all spotted the object his hand was indicating. 2 cable lengths off the Abraham Lincoln starboard quarter, the sea seemed to be lit up from underneath. This was no mere phosphorescent phenomenon. That much was unmistakable. Submerged some fathoms below the surface of the water, the monster gave off that very intense but inexplicable glow that several captains had mentioned in their reports. This magnificent radiance had to come from some force with a great illuminating capacity. The edge of its light swept over the sea in an immense, highly elongated oval, condensing at the center to a blazing core whose unbearable glow diminished by degrees outward. McD's can be kind of disappointing. It's McDonald's. Meh. It's only a cluster of phosphorescent particles, exclaimed one of the officers. No, sir, I answered with conviction. Not even angel-wing clams nor salps have ever given off such a powerful light. That glow is basically electric in nature. Besides, look, it's shifting, it's moving back and forth, it's darting at us. A universal shout went up from the frigate. I was so disappointed by their new crispy chicken sandwich. It had no mayo and it was so dry. Max, I have driven the past couple days, probably like 12 hours at least, probably more. The ride to and from New York is completely dominated by ads for the crispy McChicken sandwich. And I look at it all the time. I see it, and every single time I was in the car with Stella and Chloe, every single time I would be like, crispy chicken sandwich, every time. And it ended up not even being a funny joke, because I started saying it, because I was like, oh, there's a lot of them. It ended up not even being a funny joke because of the sheer amount of crispy chicken sandwiches that we were seeing. Or not even the sandwiches, the ads. And I went to a McDonald's twice the past few days, and I have not gotten the sandwich because of your review, Max. Okay. This is a pretty exciting part of the book. I'm getting distracted by the chicken sandwich, which is exactly what they want you to do. They either over or underdo the mayo and put a whole onion on it. Oh my god. See, okay, I usually get the McChicken, that's usually my go-to, and the McChicken, all it has on it is a few strings of lettuce, and it's like a chicken patty, and it has mayo, and they always put so much mayo on it. I like mayo. They always put so much mayo on it that I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die, and I'm going to go to heaven, or maybe hell, I don't know if you've seen my Instagram, but today I visited a place in Waterbury, Connecticut called the Holy Land, USA. After visiting there, I'm convinced I'm not going to heaven or hell. I'm going to go to purgatory, and my soul is going to wander Connecticut forever. I just got very off topic. Oh, man. Okay, let me... I'm like, okay, on one hand, I should get back to reading. On the other hand... Chicken. No, okay, I'm good. I'm good. Alrighty. Quiet, Commander Farragut said. Helm hard to leeward. Reverse engines. Sailors rushed to the helm, engineers to their machinery. Under reverse steam immediately, the Abraham Lincoln beat to port, sweeping in a semicircle. Right your helm, engines forward, the commander called. These orders were executed, and the frigate swiftly retreated from this core of light. My mistake. It wanted to retreat, but the unearthly animal came at us with a speed double our own. We gasped. More stunned than afraid, we stood mute and motionless. The animal caught up with us, played with us. It made a full circle around the boat, then doing 14 knots, and wrapped us in sheets of electricity that were like luminous dust. Then it retreated 2 or 3 miles, leaving a phosphorescent trail comparable to those swirls of steam that shoot behind the locomotive of an express train. Suddenly, all the way from the dark horizon where it had gone to gather momentum, the monster abruptly dashed toward the Abraham Lincoln with frightening speed, stopped sharply 20 feet from our side plates, and died out. Not by diving under the water, since its glow did not recede gradually, but all at once, as if the source of this brilliant emanation had suddenly dried up. Then it reappeared on the other side of the ship, either by circling us or by gliding under our hull. In any instant, a collision could have occurred that would have been fatal to us. Meanwhile, I was astonished at the maneuvers of the boat. It was fleeing, not fighting. Built to pursue, it was being pursued, and I commented on this to Commander Farragut. His face, ordinarily so emotionless, was stamped with indescribable astonishment. Professor Aronnax, he answered me. I do not know what kind of fearsome creature I'm up against, and I don't want my frigate running foolish risks in all this darkness. Besides, how should we attack this unknown creature? How should we defend ourselves against it? Let's wait for daylight, and then we'll play a different role. You've no further doubts, Commander, as to the nature of this animal? No, sir, it is apparently a gigantic narwhal, and an electric one to boot. Maybe, I added, it's no more approachable than an electric eel or an electric ray. Right, the commander replied. And if it has their power to electrocute, it's surely the most dreadful animal ever conceived by our Creator. That's why I'll keep it on my guard, sir. The whole crew stayed on their feet all night long. No one even thought of sleeping. Unable to compete with the monster's speed, the Abraham Lincoln slowed down and stayed at half steam. For its part, the narwhal mimicked the frigate, simply rode with the waves, and seemed determined not to forsake the field of battle. However, near midnight it disappeared, or to use a more appropriate expression, it went out, like a huge glowworm. Had it fled from us? We were duty-bound to fear so rather than hope so. But at 12:53 in the morning, a deafening hiss became audible, resembling the sound made by a waterspout expelled with tremendous intensity. By then the commander, Ned Land, and I were on the afterdeck, peering eagerly into the profound gloom. Ned Land, the commander asked, you've often heard whales bellowing? Often, sir, but never a whale like this, whose sighting earned me $2,000. Correct, the prize is rightfully yours, but tell me, isn't that the noise cetaceans make when they spurt water from their blowholes? The very noise, sir, but this one's way louder. So there can be no mistake. There's definitely a whale lurking in our waters. With your permission, sir, the harpooner added. Tomorrow at daybreak we'll have words with it. If it's in a mood to listen to you, Mr. Land, I replied in a tone far from convinced. Let me get within 4 harpoon lengths of it, the Canadian shot back, and it had better listen. But to get near it, the commander went on, I'd have to put a whaleboat at your disposal? Certainly, sir. That would be gambling with the lives of my men. And with my own, the harpooner replied simply. Near 2 o'clock in the morning, a core of light reappeared, no less intense, 5 miles to windward of the Abraham Lincoln. Despite the distance, despite the noise of wind and sea, we could distinctly hear the fearsome thrashings of the animal's tail, and even its panting breath. Seemingly, the moment this enormous narwhal came up to breathe at the surface of the ocean, air was sucked into its lungs like steam into the huge cylinders of a 2,000 horsepower engine. I said to myself. A whale as powerful as a whole cavalry regiment. Now that's a whale of a whale. We stayed on the alert until daylight, getting ready for action. Whaling gear was set up along the railings. Our chief officer loaded the blunderbusses, which can launch harpoons as far as a mile, and long duck guns with exploding bullets that can mortally wound even the most powerful animals. Ned Land was content to sharpen his harpoon, a dreadful weapon in his hands. At 6 o'clock, day began to break, and with the dawn's early light, the narwhal's electric glow disappeared. At 7 o'clock, the day was well along, but a very dense morning mist shrank the horizon, and our best spyglasses were unable to pierce it. The outcome, disappointment and anger. I hoisted myself up onto the cross trusses of the mizzen sail. Some officers were already perched on the mastheads. At 8 o'clock, the mist rolled ponderously over the waves, and its huge curls were lifting little by little. The horizon grew wider and clearer all at once. Oh my goodness, wait, I just noticed the hydrate. For some reason, the community challenge doesn't show up on my phone, and I look and I see 800 more coins contributed to eating cheese. Okay, fine. Here's your cowboy hat that you so crave. Let me tilt this so you can see it. Here's your cowboy content. Yeehaw. 68% raised. Oh my gosh. Annie, if you have any coins, now would be the time to spend them. But you have to spend them just in the way that you get to 69. And also, hydrate was redeemed, so I shall. Max, of course I'm distraught. This thing has been live for like a month. Oh my god, how am I wearing my hat like this? I just spin at my camera. This thing has been live for like a month. And it has already gathered it's like already would have completed my other community challenge. My last community challenge, as I'm sure you remember, was for me to play Puyo Puyo. And now, we've already reached the Puyo Puyo goal. That wasn't even raised this quickly. Okay, here is my hat, and I shall wear it for 5 minutes now. My goodness. But thank you for contributing to the challenge, Alpha7757 and Ashlyn. And, you know, Kanar also contributing 4,000, and oh my god, wait, I didn't even realize that Kanar contributed 4,000, that Annie contributed 2,000. I didn't even see those. You guys are insane. I'm trying not to look distraught, as Max said, but it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's some weird mixture of me being like, wow, you guys have so much money, that means you've been watching so much, and being like, and this is how I choose to reward you, with me eating cheese. They sell little cubes of cheese in the student center, in packs, and I'm thinking that that's what I'm going to buy. It's not super high quality. I don't also know what a normal amount of cheese is that people snack on. Do you guys eat cheese? Just like, to eat cheese by itself as a snack? Is that a thing people do? Because these things in the student center, it's like, I think it's cheddar cheese? I've never really paid close attention to it, but it's like this big, like a bag like this big, and the cubes are like really small. They're like the size of peanuts. And little cheddar cubes. Oh my god, hold on. So you eat a lot of cheese, you usually have crackers with it. That's a good idea. In one sitting, yes, I'm wondering how much cheese people usually eat in one sitting. cheddar cubes. Cheese alone is good, mozzarella and everything. I'm the type of person, I ordered a margarita pizza the other day from a place on campus, and Chloe watched me peel the mozzarella off of it because there was already cheese on the pizza and they'd added the mozzarella on top, and I was offended. I know, a monster. Charcuterie boards. Oh my gosh. I eat cheese is going to turn into me making myself a like poor college student's charcuterie board. You would eat a grilled cheese every day. One time I was visiting my friend's apartment in like, I think this was in the fall, and one of her roommates was like, oh, I'll make you food, and she made me a grilled cheese, and like to make it extra good she put like 4 pieces of cheese on it, and I was like, do people usually put like 4 pieces of cheese on a grilled cheese? Because if I make myself a grilled cheese, number 1, I don't, because it's just bread and cheese, and number 2, if I were to, I'd put like 1 layer on it. Annie, if you haven't eaten, that's you. That's on you. Crackers complicate the raw cheese flavor in a good way. Do they complicate it in a good way? Grilled cheese sounds so good right about now. Damn. You just ate dinner and you're hungry. I ate dinner around 6, I'm assuming? No, it would have been sooner. It would have been like 5:30, because I'd be on the road all day, and then I came back to campus and I got mashed potatoes and chicken, and I ate that. It wasn't good. And then I had a tea from Starbucks. 1 layer grilled cheese. It's like you haven't seen Chef. No bad way. Just eat the cheese. Just eat cheese. It's the purest form of cheese. Why is that sentence so funny to me? I don't know if it's the typos or just the random capitalization. Whew. I mean, Annie, no one can shame you for eating, because eating is wonderful. When I got to visit home, I got to see my twin, and Megan has told me before, the way she lives her life is that she lives it basically from meal to meal. Thank you for rating Alpha7757. I appreciate it. With your Podgy of 1. There's a place near me that makes grilled cheese with mac and cheese, and they make a really good seasoned tomato brisk. Oh, you can eat them together. I don't hate mac and cheese that much. That sounds like kind of okay. You want me to make a grilled cheese? Oh my god, this is just gonna be the cheese stream. I'd have to like make a grilled cheese at the beginning and then eat. I will cry. I will cry. I also can't, I don't have a microwave in my room, and if I were to make a grilled cheese, I'd have to make it in the upstairs common room. Maybe I could do that. That'd be like a separate, could you imagine I do a separate stream and I'm like cooking stream and it's just me making a grilled cheese? Just raw cheese. No, don't worry, Kanar, I am just gonna eat raw cheese. Put mac and cheese into the grilled cheese, I'm not doing that. I am gonna say crab howdy though, because it is yeehaw time. I do also believe it is not time for the hat anymore. It was not time for the hat. We just got 8 minutes of hat, I think, so good for you. Vic has a good idea. That is a good idea. It's a very good idea. Put mac and cheese into grilled cheese, but I won't do it. I won't do it because I will probably not be eating grilled cheese. That will be a different stream. Different stream. Cameron's grilled cheese stream. And it will be, I'm guessing it doesn't take that long to make a grilled cheese. It'd be like, if I'm making mac and cheese, that's a whole thing. That's also fun because I don't know anyone in my building. So it would literally just be me filming myself, like set up my computer and being like, I'm in a public kitchen and I'm making grilled cheese. I'd have to do that when I go home. Takes 5-minute max. Oh my god, I'd have to make dessert. Or not dessert. I'd have to make, I got distracted because cheese ice cream. I'd have to make, tomato soup. Make it a whole thing. Wait, that actually sounds pretty good. Not gonna lie. Oh, Hannah, she's not in the chat right now, but she told me once that she thought that grilled cheese and toast tasted the same. Not grilled cheese, sorry, grilled bread and toast tasted the same. So harass her. Don't actually harass her, but harass her because, like, what the fuck are you trying to peddle right now? Let me say, I know what I was going to see. Kanar, wasn't there a type of ice cream you were telling me about that was like a corn ice cream? It wasn't just corn, it was like some kind of blueberry compote or whatever, and it was like cornbread or something. There was something. Max, I used to hate tomatoes until I went mostly vegetarian the summer of junior year of high school, and then for some reason I loved it. It was corn. Yeah, okay, maybe it sounds bad, but I was like the only person that Kanar was explaining this ice cream flavor to me. Or it was like Annie and Kanar had it or something, and I was like, this actually doesn't sound that bad to me. I did see the new Lil Nas X video. It was good. The music didn't really stand out to me that much, but I only listened to it once. I was legitimately like, I have to listen to this again later though. There is weirder ice creams. There's much different ones. Hello, Alpha7757. Kanar, you just all caps. There's weird. It's not weird at all. Oh gosh. It's funny, I changed my tag to be doing auditory, or not auditory ASMR. I have a tag for auditory ASMR, but I changed my game to be from just chatting to ASMR because I was like, that's probably more accurate for what I'm doing. And now I'm just chatting, so oops. What's my favorite ice cream? So I have loved ice cream my whole life. Many a type. I would have to say though, when I was visiting home this weekend, I was talking about an ice cream place that doesn't exist anymore. It got replaced with a Cumberland Farms, and I used to go there over the summer because, well, I mean, this will not be a surprise to you, but I was an avid reader and contributor to the public library's summer program for reading, and I was the only person who submitted, me and my sister, so we were the only person to win their weekly raffles, and their weekly raffles were always like tickets to a local baseball game or a coupon for a free ice cream at this one shop. And so we would go to Kanar. So we would go to this place, and they had this ice cream called Graham Central Station, and it was just a graham cracker ice cream. Like, that's literally all it was, mixed with like a vanilla ice cream, and I thought it was the best thing ever, and it was my favorite type of ice cream. This Graham Central Station, that ice cream store does not exist anymore, but we have another place by my house that does s'mores adjacent ice cream, which does have graham cracker in it, so it's very close. And also another place near me, Lone Oak, they don't always have this, but every once in a while they'll do like an Elvis type flavor that's like banana and peanut butter, and I always get that because my grandfather really likes banana ice cream, and when I was younger, after swim, he would give me it. So I have a fondness. Basically, yeah, he likes banana ice cream, and his wife, my Nana, loves Elvis. So when you put two and two together, bam, that's my grandparents represented in an ice cream. You have to convince me cheese is good. Yeah, don't give a stinky cheese emote. You're trying to convince me to eat cheese, sillies. You gotta watch, and if you follow, if you follow, then you get 300 channel points, or as I call them, crab coins right off the bat, and you could contribute those to making me eat cheese, or not. Lone Oak has the best peanut butter cup. Alpha's behind in lore. Please don't say I have lore. The closest I have to lore is everything being crab related for some reason. And my Incredibles stream. I feel like the closest thing I have to lore is my Incredibles ranking stream. I'm the lore king. Yes, in my D&D Discord, I have a special, I don't know if it's a role, like, or like in the Discord or just like my position, but I am in charge of the lore channel, and I post recaps and make sure everyone has access to what is going on in the lore. I keep notes, the most detailed notes. The cheese has a face. That's my impression. It's a face, which means it's a good stinky cheese. Can be good, come on. I haven't had stinky cheese. Alrighty. I have taken a long enough break. When I upload this VOD later tonight on YouTube, I've been trying to like keep track of what the chapters are, and people are gonna think it's scuffed that I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, chapter 4 was like, or yeah, chapter 5 took me like 10 minutes, chapter 6 took me an hour, chapter 7 took me 10 minutes. I agree, Max, it is a good book. It's one of my favorite books. I like sincerely do like it. And also, people watching, I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but I mentioned that I might try to do a giveaway, because I have in my possession now 3 copies of the book, one of which I would like to keep. Your favorite book is, let me know what your favorite book is, Max. Mine is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, you got me. I also really like Odd Thomas a lot. That one is definitely not under common law, so I cannot read it. There were none, and then there were none, Agatha Christie. I'm adding this to my reading list. Hey, drop your favorite book in chat if you want, and I'll add it to my reading list, just personal reading list, because I would like to read these. I'm gonna say book list, and then there were none. Here we go. You want me to read The Odyssey, Homer? Okay. Here we go. Dune, okay. Oh, my phone just auto-corrected Ashlyn to Ashwin, and I don't know why. My favorite book is Where the Red Fern Grows. I'm not laughing at your book. Where the Red Fern Grows. Okay. Max is putting multiple books. I love how this must be very interesting to watch, just me writing, frantically typing book titles and mistyping them because I have nails that are long. Oh my gosh. Okay, oh my gosh, I'm having issues. I'm also a formatting person, like I love formatting, so I'm like panicking when this note isn't, this notes document isn't nice. Miss Dalloway, you're currently reading it. Let me know if it's good. Oh my gosh, y'all, you love books here, huh? The Haunting of Hill House, oh my god, wait, I think I would love that one. Not gonna lie. Misery, okay. Oh, you and Kanara have the same favorite book. Cool, cool, cool. Fingernail ASMR. It's not gonna sound that good because I put a clean sock over my mic because I was like, if I'm doing reading, I need to find a way to mask the pop noises. I have a hard time picking favorites, but all 3 of those are amazing, and the last 2 are poetry. Ah, that's nice. Oh, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Good to know. The Night Circus. Okay. My phone used to do that all the time. And Howl's Moving Castle book. I haven't seen that. Okay, okay. You want to get acrylics again? They're wonderful. I like how you specified clean. Well, because even though it's clean, I still was like panicked putting a sock on my microphone because I was like, I don't know, I feel like I might just have to buy a new sock to put on it. Dune is amazing, and I'm going to read it on stream. Oh, good. You'd love to hear me read it and get my reactions. Dune and Haunting are so good. Dune's social and racial and political and environmental commentary are amazing and sublime. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of commentary. Not the whole rest of the series are like that. Haunting isn't entirely poetry, but it also is. Yeah, Megan, she was telling me that during, I believe there was like, it was just one of the shootings that happened a few months ago. She said that this woman who is an author she was like famous on TikTok for her poetry. She just did a live stream where she was just reading her poetry out for people. And apparently it was like super, super calming and super nice. I'm not a huge poetry person in terms of like, I do really enjoy poetry, and I've memorized it, and like my school did poetry out loud. I never participated in poetry out loud because I was disqualified every single year, which is very interesting, but both of my sisters participated in it, and one of them won the school-wide one, which is cool. Let me change my chat box settings for a second. Me too, Lamau. Max, tell me about it. And I don't mean tell me about it like, ha, tell me about it. Like, now legitimately, tell me about it. Because I remember you and I have had English before and stuff together. Let me see. Okay, let's go to that. Okay, cool. Because for me, it was freshman year, I picked You Were Way Better Than Most of the People in both our English classes together. Yeah, I agree. I think I'm great at poetry reading. I think I'm wonderful. You shared a poem with 3 other people and you smashed them. I agree. These are different. They're more like a lyrical stream of consciousness, and Haunting is written in a pretty way like poetry. Wow, that's such a wonderful way of speaking. Like, that just, reading that was like poetry. But yeah, I remember, Max, freshman year, basically at our school, if you remember, Poetry Out Loud happened first semester, so if you had English first semester, then you qualified to read whatever your poem was, if you won the class, like for Poetry Out Loud, and then if you had it second semester, you were kind of out of luck. And I had English second semester 3 out of the 4 years. The only year I didn't have it second semester was freshman year, where there was a book on the Vietnam War Memorial, and I was like, I like this one, and I'm going to read this one. And my teacher was like, that's not on the list. They took it off because they heard it too many times because it was annoying. And, or not annoying, but like they'd heard it too many times, it was overdone, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't care, I'm gonna do it. So I did it. I did it better than anyone else in the class, and I was tied with this kid, Ben Matthias. And my teacher was like, okay, this is how we'll figure out who wins. You guys are gonna have to go line for line. I read a line of my poetry, he reads a line of his, and back and forth. I had it so much easier than him because I had lines in mind that was like, he would say like some like really long poetic sentence that was just one line, and then I would be like, the sky. And then he would like do his whole thing, and then I'd be like, a bird in the sky. And then he would go again. I was just like having such a great time. And I did win. No, Fam Max, if you remember. Oh my god. So I don't exactly remember the one I picked for Fam. Because like, it was too long ago. I have a feeling it was an Edna St. Vincent Millay poem because I like her. But I digress. She was like, I remember while we were voting, Fam said something at one point, like, she was like, I'm gonna start voting and my votes are gonna start counting for 3 of your votes because you guys are voting horribly. Like, she just like basically insinuated that we were not voting for the correct people, but she said this immediately after my poem had been read, and I was like, this bitch. Like, oh my god. You've repressed it, Max. I haven't repressed it. I let it fuel me. She literally, I remember at one point, she told me when we were talking, she was like, I forget what she was talking about, but she was like, they should we'd had so many snow days that she was like, they should just get rid of April vacation. And I was like, you can't get rid of April vacation. Number one, that's illegal. Number two, the band is going to be going to Disney to perform in the parade. And she was like, the music department could disappear and no one would care. And I was like, because the way she said it, that's not her exact phrasing, but the way she said it was like, hey, you could all just die. And I was like, hello? Hello? What the fuck? I also remember, Max, if you remember, we had this big vocab quiz we had to do that was like 106 words, and it was like basically match the word to its definition, and if you got more than 6 of them wrong, and if you get one of them wrong, you by default get 2 wrong because that definition's taken. If you got more than 2 of them wrong, or more than 6 of them wrong, you couldn't get an A. And so she made everyone do this extra credit assignment. And I was like, I'm not doing this fucking extra credit assignment. I hate her class. She liked Matchbox 20 and it made me stop listening to Matchbox 20. But regardless, I was like, I'm not doing this extra credit assignment. I'm going to get less than 6 questions wrong. I'm going to get an A. And I remember like Kaylee and like maybe someone else in the class being like, that's so not worth it. Like there's 106 questions. What are the odds you're gonna get like only 4 wrong? And I was like, you know, I have a feeling God will be on my side. And then I took the test and I got 4 questions wrong. Suck it. I don't know. That was out of pocket from me. I'm remembering and I'm getting excited. Teach went through a lot that year and took it out on us. I know. I remember one day, she just was like, I'm gonna cut my hair short. And we were like, okay. And then she just came in the very next day and her hair was super short. That has nothing to do with mental health because I did that. Basically the exact same, where I just went camping one year and I was literally like 3.5 hours away from my house and I was like, I'm gonna get a haircut. And I went to a random Supercuts and cut all my hair off. And if anyone was wondering, that's how I got short hair. But I rock it better than her. Well, she's a Karen. She deserves a bob. Okay, I've taken enough of a break. From the book. I'm going to get back to the book now. But yeah, it's always nice to talk high school trauma. That's not a funny joke. Let me check to see. Okay. Okay, I remember exactly where I left off because the reason I stopped speaking is because I was gonna talk about how bad the fog was on the drive today because I was talking about the fog in the book and then I didn't and I got distracted for 20 minutes. Cam, relatable, I cut my hair short while on vacation in fucking California. Yeah, I was just in Vermont, but it was still like, I remember I went back and my hairdresser was like, what did you do? And I was like, can you fix it? Because the person that did it at the Supercuts didn't do it that good. Okay. I digress. I'm gonna reread the last couple lines I said. Recap. They've now seen the animal and it's kind of been toying with them for a few hours, and Ned Land is trying to convince people. He said at noon, let me go out on a fishing boat and harpoon it and I will kill it. So yeah, that's where we leave off. At 8 o'clock, the mist rolled ponderously over the waves and its huge curls were lifting little by little. The horizon grew wider and clearer all at once. Suddenly, just as on the previous evening, Ned Land's voice was audible. There's the thing in question, astern to port, the harpooner shouted. Every eye looked toward the point indicated. There, 1.5 miles from the boat, a long blackish body emerged a meter above the waves. Quivering violently, its tail was creating a considerable eddy. Never had caudal equipment thrashed the sea with such power. An immense wake of glowing whiteness marked the animal's track, sweeping in a long curve. Our boat drew nearer to the boat. Our boat drew nearer to the whale. I examined it with a completely open mind. those reports from the Shannon and the Helvetica had slightly exaggerated its dimensions, and I put its length at only 120 feet. Its girth was more difficult to judge, but all in all, the animal seemed to be wondrously proportioned in all three dimensions. While I was observing this phenomenal creature, 2 jets of steam and water sprang from its blowholes and rose to an altitude of 40 meters, which settled me for its mode of breathing. From this, I finally concluded that it belonged to the branch Vertebrata, class Mammalia, subclass Monodelphia, group Pisciforma, order Cetacea, family... But here I couldn't make up my mind. The order Cetacea consists of 3 families: baleen whales, sperm whales, and dolphins, and it's in this last group that narwhals are placed. Each of these families is divided into several genera, each genus into species, each species into varieties. So I was still missing variety, species, genus, and family, but no doubt I would complete my classifying with the aid of Heaven and Commander Farragut. The crew were waiting impatiently for orders from their leader. The latter, after carefully observing the animal, called for his engineer. The engineer raced over. "Sir," the commander said, "are you up to pressure?" "Aye, sir," the engineer replied. "Fine. Stoke your furnaces and clap on full steam." 3 cheers greeted this order. The hour of battle had sounded. A few moments later, the frigate's 2 funnels vomited torrents of black smoke, and its deck quaked from the trembling of its boilers. Let me just make sure I'm just checking my posture. Okay. Driven forward by its powerful propeller, the Abraham Lincoln headed straight for the animal. Unconcerned, the latter let us come within half a cable length. Then, not bothering to dive, it got up a little speed, retreated, and then was content to keep its distance. This chase dragged on for about 3/4 of an hour, without the boat gaining 2 fathoms on the whale. At this point, it was obvious that we would never catch up with it. Infuriated, Commander kept twisting the thick tuft of hair that flourished below his chin. "Ned Land," he called. The Canadian reported at once. "Well, Mr. Land," the commander asked, "do you still advise putting my longboats to sea?" "No, sir," Ned Land replied, "because that beast won't be caught against its will." "Then what should we do?" "Stoke up more steam, sir, if you can. As for me, with your permission, I'll go perch on the bobstays under the bowsprit." "I'm sure." I'm thinking that's how it's pronounced. "And if we can get within a harpoon length, I'll harpoon the brute." "Go to it, Ned," Commander Farragut replied. "Engineer," he called, "keep the pressure mounting." Ned Land made his way to post. The furnaces were urged into greater activity. Our propeller did 43 revolutions per minute, and steam shot from the valves. Heaving the log, we verified that the Abraham Lincoln was going at the rate of 18.5 miles per hour. But that damned animal also did a speed of 18.5. So for the next hour, our boat kept up this pace without gaining a fathom. This was humiliating for one of the fastest racers in the American Navy. The crew were working up to a blind rage. Sailor after sailor heaved insults at the monster, which couldn't be bothered with answering back. The commander was no longer content to simply twist his goatee, he chewed on it. The engineer was summoned once again. "You're up to maximum pressure?" the commander asked him. "Aye, sir," the engineer replied. "And your valves are charged to?" "To 6.5 atmospheres." "Charge them to 10 atmospheres." A typical American order, if I ever heard one. It would have sounded just fine during some Mississippi paddle wheeler race to outstrip the competition. Damn, he's sassy. "Counsel," I said to my gallant servant, now at my side, "you realize we'll probably blow ourselves sky high." "As you wish," Counsel replied. "All right, I'll admit it. I did wish to run this risk." The valves were charged. More coal was swallowed by the furnaces. Ventilators shot torrents of air over the braziers. The Abraham Lincoln's speed increased. Its masts trembled down to their blocks, and swirls of smoke could barely squeeze through the narrow funnels. We heaved the log a second time. "Well, helmsman?" Commander Farragut asked. 19.3 miles per hour, sir." "Keep stoking the furnaces." The engineer did so. The pressure gauge marked 10 atmospheres, but no doubt the cetacean itself had warmed up, because without the least trouble it also did 19.3. What a chase. No, I can't describe the excitement that shook my very being. Ned Land stayed at his post, harpoon in hand. Several times the animal let us approach. Oh, there's a lovely little photo of Ned Land. Hold on, let me zoom out. Wow, I've messed up everything. I'm zooming out and I'm sharing my screen for a second. Here we go. Ned. That's Ned Land with his harpoon. Okay, let me go back to the screen. Big boy. He is a big boy. And there are, I guess, birds swooping all around. It's very obvious. Sorry, I'm going back to the display capture. It's so obvious in this photo that what they're looking at is like... Hold on, I'm messing up everything. It's so obvious that this is not normal. This is so not normal. I don't want to give anything away for people who haven't seen it, but like, it is a book from the 1800s, so avoiding spoilers from it is challenging. Anyway. We're overhauling it, the Canadian shouted. Just then as he was about to strike, the cetacean would steal off with a swiftness I could estimate at no less than 30 miles per hour. And even at our maximum speed, it took the liberty of thumbing its nose at the frigate by running a full circle around us. A howl of fury burst from every throat. By noon, we were no further along than at 8 o'clock in the morning. Commander Farragut then decided to use more direct methods. Bah, he said. So that animal is faster than the Abraham Lincoln. All right, see if it can outrun our shells. Mate, man the gun in the bow. Our forecastle cannon was immediately loaded and leveled. The cannoneer fired a shot, but his shell passed some feet above the cetacean, which stayed a half a mile off. Over to somebody with better aim, Commander shouted, and $500 to the man who can pierce that infernal beast. Calm of eye, cool of feature, an old gray-bearded gunner. I can see him to this day. Approached the cannon, put it in position, and took aim for a good while. There was a mighty explosion, mingled with cheers from the crew. The shell reached its target. It hit the animal, but not in the usual fashion. It bounced off that rounded surface and vanished into the sea 2 miles out. Oh, drat, said the old gunner in his anger. That rascal must be covered with a 6-inch armor plate. Curse the beast, Commander Farragut shouted. The hunt was on again, and Commander Farragut leaned over to me, saying, I'll chase that animal until my boat explodes. Yes, I replied, and nobody would blame you. We could still hope the animal would tire out and not be as insensitive to exhaustion as our steam engines. But no such luck. Hour after hour went by without it showing the least sign of wariness. However, to the Abraham Lincoln's credit, it must be said that we struggled on with tireless persistence. I estimate that we covered a distance of at least 500 kilometers during this ill-fated day of November 6th, but night fell and wrapped the surging ocean in its shadows. By then, I thought our expedition had come to an end, and that we would never see this fantastic animal again. I was mistaken. At 10:50 in the evening, that electric light reappeared 3 miles to the windward of the frigate, just as clear and intense as the night before. The narwhal seemed motionless. Was it asleep, perhaps? Weary from its workday, just riding with the waves? This was our chance, and the commander was determined to take full advantage of it. He gave his orders. The Abraham Lincoln stayed at half steam, advancing cautiously so as not to waken its adversary. In mid-ocean, it's not unusual to encounter whales so sound asleep they can successfully be attacked, and Ned Land has harpooned more than one in its slumber. The Canadian went to resume his post on the bobstays under the bowsprit. The frigate approached without making a sound, stopped 2 cable lengths from the animal, and coasted. Not a soul breathed on board. A profound silence reigned over the deck. We were not 100 feet from the blazing core of light, whose glow grew stronger and dazzled the eyes. Just then, leaning over the forecastle railing, I saw Ned Land below me, one hand grasping the martingale, the other brandishing his dreadful harpoon. Barely 20 feet separated him from the motionless animal. All at once, his arm shot forward and the harpoon was launched. I heard the weapon collide resonantly, as if it had hit some hard substance. The electric light suddenly went out. Two enormous waterspouts crashed onto the deck of the frigate, racing like a torrent from stern to stern, toppling crewmen, breaking spare masts and yard arms from their lashings. A hideous collision occurred, and thrown over the rail with no time to catch hold of it, I was hurled into the sea. Okay, that's the end of chapter 6. Good on us. It only took me like forever because I stopped to talk about any and everything. But yeah, I don't know. This book, it is called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and this is our first time our main character has gone under the water. It's a fun hint of what's to come. I don't feel like stopping reading now, so I'm going to keep going, but I probably shouldn't go too long because, like, meh. No, they're not below the water yet, Max. They've been, up until this point, they've been chasing on a boat called the Abraham Lincoln, which is like, I know this is like written by a French guy about America, but that's like, I don't know, I guess that's on point. That's something we would have done, huh? It's like this French professor and his Dutch assistant are on this boat with a Canadian harpooner, an American boat, to capture a animal that has been terrorizing people for like a year at this point. Oh, Max. That is so cruel. No, I am going to read it though because it's a bunch of fun words. And I know it's a joke. What a dumb, stupid, idiot, lame, unoriginal, uninspired, dull, crazy, boring, and downright awful, no good, horrible, very bad book. Oh, that's a book reference right at the end. And crazy is an interesting one to throw in there. Damn, it's 10:30, and I am out of it. Anywho. I like From the Earth to the Moon. Okay. From the Earth to the Moon. You know another book I haven't read by Jules Verne, but I've seen the movie, Journey to the Center of the Earth. That one had The Rock in it, and it had the guy that plays PETA, I believe. I'm gonna have to look that up to make sure I'm not just saying shit. Here we go. 2008 film. It has... This isn't the one I'm thinking of. I wasn't thinking of this version. This is the 2008. I don't want that one. I want the one with Journey to the Mysterious Island. That's the one I'm thinking of. Gosh dang it. But, you know, it's Journey to the Center of the Earth too. And that one has Vanessa Hudgens, Josh Hutcherson, and Dwayne, and I believe Brendan Fraser's in the first one? Yeah. Anyway, that's interesting, huh? Damn, I got off topic just now. Another Verne book. Yeah, wasn't there a second one? Yeah, that's the one. Oh, this shows you how behind my chat is. It's quite a bit of a delay. Okay. Yes, but I do like that book. Oh, you're just lagging, you're fresh. Cool. That makes me feel better. Because I remember there's this one stream I did where I had to switch games like multiple times. That was the last time I tried to play Pop Tropica. And, I remember in it, somebody else who streamed joined and was like talking to me about my stream latency and stuff like that. Damn, acrylics, y'all. I know that I keep bringing up my nails, but I've had these for like a week, and They just stay on so well, they don't come off. I know that it shreds up your normal nail underneath, which is sad, and I think that that's like one advantage of using press-ons. But I have a lot of texture issues for some reason. Chloe's trying to convince me that I should be diagnosed with something because I have like a lot of, that's the reason I don't like cheese, is I have a lot of texture issues and speaking to people issues, just in that a lot of things go over my head. But anyways, these nails help a lot because my normal nail feels so protected. Nothing bothers me. I'm gonna do some more ASMR. I'm sorry. That sounds familiar to a thing I have. Yes, that's what I've been told, Max. However, I am determined that I am just strange. And not in a diagnosable way, just in a Cameron is strange type way. A likely chance. I'm sorry, why is that so funny to me? Literally, after reading this book, the way that I speak gets so messed up, where I was like typing in a Discord, I remember, after reading, and I was saying like, but alas, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Anyhow, I know I just got off topic there for a second, but you know, it's what we call deflecting. Yes, I'm glad that my internet's working, because right when I like put the thing on my story that was like streaming at 9 p.m, the like wind was so horrible outside, and there was supposed to be like really bad, like I was supposed to go through like a bigger part of a storm, and I was like, Jesus Christ, now my internet's going to die. But it did not. Anywho, I will, Okay, I will just say, just because it's still up on my screen, if you're not following and you would like to follow, it gives you 300 crab coins, and you can use those to force me to eat cheese, something I'm not sure I enjoy. But I'm going to get back to the book now, because, I don't know, we're here to read, do homework, vibe, listen to the weirdly cinematic sounding music playing in the background, and listen to my lovely voice. And yeah, I will get back to reading. Chapter 7. A Whale of Unknown Species. Although I was startled by this unexpected descent, I at least have a very clear recollection of my sensations during it. At first, I was dragged down about 20 feet under. I'm a good swimmer without claiming to equal such authors as Byron and Edgar Allan Poe, who are master divers, and I didn't lose my head on the way down. Well, I was on swim team, so get on my level. Anyway, 2 vigorous kicks of the heel, I came back to the surface of the sea. My first concern was to look for the boat. Had the crew seen me go overboard? Was the Abraham Lincoln tacking about? Would the commander put a longboat to sea? Could I hope to be rescued? The gloom was profound. I glimpsed a black mass disappearing eastward, where its running lights were fading out in the distance. It was the boat. I felt I was done for. "Help! Help!" I shouted, swimming desperately towards the Abraham Lincoln. My clothes were weighing me down. The water glued them to my body. They were paralyzing my movements. I was sinking. I was suffocating. "Help!" This was the last shout I gave. My mouth was filling with water. I struggled against being dragged into the depths. Suddenly, my clothes were seized by energetic hands. I felt myself pulled abruptly back to the surface of the sea, and yes, I heard these words pronounced in my ear. "If you would oblige me by leaning on my shoulder, you will swim with much greater ease." With one hand, I seized the arm of my loyal counsel. "You," I said. "You." "Myself," counsel replied, "and at your command." "That collision threw you overboard along with me." "Not at all, but I'm your employee, so I followed you." This fine lad thought this only natural. "What about the frigate?" I asked. "The frigate," counsel replied, rolling over on his back. "I think master had best not depend on it to any great extent." "What are you saying?" I'm saying that just as I jumped overboard, I heard the men at the helm shout, "Our propeller and rudder are smashed." Smashed? Yes, smashed by the monster's tusk. I believe it's the sole injury the Abraham Lincoln has sustained. But, most inconveniently for us, the ship can no longer steer. Then we're done for. Perhaps, Council replied serenely. However, we still have a few hours before us, and in a few hours, one can do many great things. Council's unflappable composure cheered me up. I swam more vigorously, but hampered by clothes that were as restricting as a cloak made of lead, I was managing with only the greatest difficulty. Council noticed as much. "You will allow me to make an incision," he said, as he slipped an open clasp knife under my clothes, slitting them from top to bottom with one swift stroke. Then he briskly took them off while I swam for us both. I then did Council the same favor, and we continued to navigate side by side. But our circumstances were no less dreadful. Perhaps they hadn't seen us go overboard, and even if they had, the boat, being undone by its rudder, couldn't return leeward after us. So we could count only on its longboats. Council had coolly reasoned out this hypothesis and laid his plans accordingly. An amazing character, this boy. In mid-ocean, this stoic lad seemed right at home. So, having concluded that our sole chance for salvation lay in being picked up by the Abraham Lincoln's longboats, we had to take steps to wait for them as long as possible. Consequently, I decided to divide our engines so we wouldn't both be worn out at the same time, and this was the arrangement. While one of us lay on his back, staying motionless with arms crossed and legs outstretched, the other would swim and propel his partner forward. This towing role was to last no longer than 10 minutes, and by relieving each other this way, we could stay afloat for hours, perhaps even until daybreak. Some chance, but hope springs eternal in the human breast. Besides, there were 2 of us. Lastly, I can vouch, as improbable as it seems, that even if I had wanted to destroy all my illusions, even if I had been willing to, quote-unquote, give in to despair, I could not have done so. The narwhal had rammed our boat at 11 o'clock in the evening. I therefore calculated on 8 hours of swimming until sunrise. A strenuous task, but feasible, thanks to our relieving each other. The sea was pretty smooth and barely tired us. Sometimes I tried to peer through the dense gloom, which was broken only by the phosphorescent flickers coming from our movements. I stared at the luminous ripples breaking over my hands, shimmering sheets spattered with blotches of bluish gray. It seemed as if we'd plunged into a pool of quicksilver. Near 1 o'clock in the morning, I was overcome with tremendous exhaustion. My limbs stiffened in the grip of intense cramps. Council had to keep me going, and attending to our self-preservation became his sole responsibility. I soon heard the poor lad gasping. His breathing became shallow and quick. I didn't think he could stand such exertions for much longer. "Go on," I told him, "go on." "Leave you behind," he replied. "Never. I'll drown before you do." Can I just say, breaking character. As someone that not even took, was on swim team, swim captain, whatever, as someone that took survival swim for years when I was younger, if you are in this situation, yes, you can take your clothes off like they did. Sure, there's no point keeping on wet clothes unless you want to use them to help you survive. But you know how they're saying, one of us was swimming while one of us was floating? You could just both float if you're that tired and, hold hands or tie you together or something. I know that's dangerous, but you don't even have to be sleeping. Don't tire yourself out this much. There are ways of swimming that aren't that tiring. I know they've been swimming for 3 hours at this point in the book, but if you just float on your back, I bet you'd feel fine. So this is just my way of, if anyone ever finds himself in a situation, I hope that me saying this now might help you survive. Cam's swim stream, later on, I'll give more advice. Next time they do something stupid, I'll give more advice. Just then, past the fringes of a large cloud that the wind was driving eastward, the moon appeared. The surface of the sea glistened under its rays. That kindly light rekindled our strength. I held up my head again. My eyes darted to every point of the horizon. I spotted the frigate. It was 5 miles from us and formed no more than a dark, barely perceptible mass. But as for longboats, not a single one in sight. I tried to call out. What was the use at such a distance? My swollen lips wouldn't let a single sound through. Counsel could still articulate a few words, and I heard him repeat at intervals, "Help! Help!" Ceasing all movement for an instant, we listened, and it may have been a ringing in my ear from this organ filling with impeded blood, but it seemed to me Counsel's shout had received an answer back. "Did you hear that?" I muttered. "Yes, yes!" And Counsel hurled another desperate plea into space. This time there could be no mistake. A human voice had answered us. Max clothes. Was it the voice of some poor devil left behind in mid-ocean, some other victim of that collision suffered by our ship? Or was it one of the frigate's longboats, hailing us out of the gloom? Counsel made one final effort, and bracing his hands on my shoulders while I offered resistance with one supreme exertion, he raised himself half out of the water, then fell back exhausted. "What did you see?" "I saw," he muttered. "I saw. But we mustn't talk. Save our strength." What had he seen? Then, Lord knows why, but the thought of the monster came into my head for the first time. But even so, that voice. Gone are the days when Jonah took refuge in the bellies of whales. Nevertheless, Counsel kept towing me. Sometimes he looked up, stared straight ahead, and shouted a request for directions, which was answered by a voice that was getting closer and closer. I could barely hear it. I was at the end of my strength. My fingers gave out. My hands were no help to me. My mouth opened convulsively, filling with brine. Its coldness ran through me. I raised my head one last time, then I collapsed. Dude, this guy, he's 40 years old. He should not be this useless. Anyway. Then something hard banged against me. I clung to it. Then I felt myself being pulled upward, back to the surface of the water. My chest caved in and I fainted. For certain, I came to quickly, because someone was, massaging me so vigorously it left furrows in my flesh. What does that mean? What does furrows mean? Also, massaging? A furrow is a long, narrow trench made in the ground by a plow for planting seeds or irrigation. Aye, well, this is an old book translated, so IDK words. IDK words, Max. I half opened my eyes. "Counsel?" I muttered. "Did you ring for me?" Counsel replied. Just then, in the last light of a moon settling on the horizon, I spotted a face that wasn't Counsel's, but which I recognized at once. "Ned!" I exclaimed. "In person, sir, and still after his prize," the Canadian replied. "You were thrown overboard after the collision?" "Yes, Professor, but I was luckier than you, and right away I was able to set foot on this floating islet." "Islet?" "Or in other words, our gigantic narwhal." "Explain yourself, Ned." "It's just that I soon realized why my harpoon got blunted and couldn't puncture its hide." "Why, Ned, why?" "Because, Professor, this beast is made of boilerplate steel." At this point in my story, I needed to get a grip on myself, reconstruct exactly what I experienced, and make doubly sure of everything I write. The Canadian's last words caused a sudden upheaval in my brain. I swiftly hoisted myself to the summit of this half-submerged creature or object that was serving as our refuge. I tested it with my foot. Obviously, it was some hard, impenetrable substance, not the soft matter that makes up the bodies of our big marine mammals. But this hard substance could have been a bony carapace, like those that covered some prehistoric animals, and I might have left it at that and classified this monster among such amphibious reptiles as turtles or alligators. Well, no. The blackish back supporting me was smooth and polished with no overlapping scales. On impact, it gave off a metallic sonority. I'm stupid. sonority? Sonority? Sonority. And as incredible as this sounds, it seemed, I swear, to be made of riveted plates. No doubts were possible. This animal, this monster, this natural phenomenon that had puzzled the whole scientific world, that had muddled and misled the minds of seamen in both hemispheres, was, there could be no escaping it, an even more astonishing phenomenon. A phenomenon made by the hand of men. Seniority is not the word we were looking for, Max. It's spelled like sonar. Anyways, even if I had discovered that some fabulous mythological creature really existed, it wouldn't have given me such a terrific mental jolt. It's easy enough to accept that prodigious things can come from our Creator, but to find all at once right before your eyes that the impossible had been mysteriously achieved by man himself, this staggers the mind. But there was no question now. We were stretched out on the back of some kind of underwater boat that, as far as I could judge, boasted the shape of an immense steel fish. Ned Land had clear views on the issue. Council and I could only line up behind him. "Why then," I said, "does this contraption contain some sort of locomotive mechanism and a crew to run it?" "Apparently," the harpooner replied, "and yet for the 3 hours I've lived on this floating island, it hasn't shown a single sign of life." "This boat hasn't moved at all?" "No, Professor Aronnax, it just rides with the waves, but otherwise it hasn't stirred." "But we know that it's certainly gifted with great speed. Now then, since an engine is needed to generate that speed, and a mechanic to run that engine, I conclude we're saved." Ned Land put in, his tone denoting reservations. Just then, as if to take side in my argument, a bubbling began astern of the strange submersible, whose drive mechanism was obviously a propeller, and the boat started to move. We barely had time to hang on to its topside, which emerged about 80 centimeters above water. Fortunately, its speed was not excessive. "So long as it navigates horizontally," Ned Land muttered, "I've no complaints. But if it gives the urge to dive, I wouldn't give $2 for my hide." I said that so strange. I'm going to say the sentence again. "But if it gets the urge to dive, I wouldn't give $2 for my hide." The Canadian might have quoted a much lower price. So it was imperative to make contact with whatever beings were confined inside the plating of this machine. I searched its surface for an opening or hatch, a manhole to use the official term, but the lines of rivets had been firmly driven into the sheet iron joints and were straight and uniform. Moreover, the moon then disappeared and left us in profound darkness. We had to wait for daylight to find some way of getting inside this underwater boat. So our salvation lay totally in the hands of the mysterious helmsman steering this submersible, and if it made a dive, we were done for. But aside from this occurring, I didn't doubt the possibility of our making contact with them. In fact, if they didn't produce their own air, they inevitably had to make periodic visits to the surface of the ocean to replenish their oxygen supply. Hence the need for some opening that put the boat's interior in contact with the atmosphere, while I'm out of it. As for any hope of being rescued by the commander, that had to be renounced completely. We were being swept westward, and I estimate that our comparatively moderate speed reached 12 miles per hour. The propeller churned the waves with mathematical regularity, sometimes emerging above the surface and throwing phosphorescent spray to great heights. Near 4 o'clock in the morning, the submersible picked up speed. We could barely cope with the dizzying rush, and the waves battered us at close range. Fortunately, Ned's hands came across a big mooring rig fastened to the topside of the sheet iron brick, and we all held on for dear life. Finally, this long night was over. My imperfect memories won't let me recall my every impression of it. A single detail comes back to me. Several times, during various lulls of wind and sea, I thought I heard indistinct sounds, a sort of elusive harmony produced by distant musical chords. What was the secret behind this underwater navigating? Whose explanation made the whole world, What was the secret behind this underwater navigating, whose explanation the whole world had sought in vain? What beings lived inside this strange boat? What mechanical force allowed it to move about with such prodigious speed? Daylight appeared. The morning mists surrounded us, but they soon broke up. I was about to proceed with a careful examination of the hull, whose topside formed a sort of horizontal platform, when I felt it sinking little by little. "Oh, damnation!" Ned Land shouted, stamping his foot on the resonant sheet iron. "Open up in there, you antisocial navigators!" That's funny. But it was difficult to make yourself heard above the deafening beats of the propeller. Fortunately, this submerging movement stopped. From inside the boat, there suddenly came noises of iron fastenings pushed roughly aside. One of the steel plates flew up. A man appeared, gave a bizarre yell, and instantly disappeared. A few moments later, 8 strapping fellows appeared silently, their faces like masks, and dragged us down into their fearsome machine. I'm going to stop there because I've been going for almost 2 hours and my voice is starting to hurt again. My voice has been hurting recently, and I think it is due to the amount of talking I've been doing in the car and on streams and the like. So, yes, a lot of reading. It's fun, I like it, but I don't know. I should probably stop for the night. Hold on, I'm changing the dimensions of my text box if I can. Wait, I don't remember how to do that. I'll do it after the stream. Blah. But anyway, this has been a lot of fun. This has been exactly what I wanted to do. To chill. After, everything going on. Which is to say, me visiting home and finals and you guys know. Let me look. I'm not exactly sure. None of the channels that I follow are live right now. So I'm wondering what I should do. Who I should raid. Just chatting and ASMR are difficult. You already have finals? Sorry, not finals. Midterms. That's what I meant to say. But just chatting is a difficult one because it's such a popular one. And, I'm not sure ASMR is exactly what we're looking for, you know? So yeah, I'm not sure I'm just gonna, like, look through just chatting, maybe? But so many people have so many viewers. I don't want to raid with 4 people when they have that many. You look for reading streams? Reading streams are very difficult to find. If you guys find one, let me know. You can always put it in the chat. I'm looking for, I wouldn't be opposed. I just like rating people with lower channel counts because, like, I don't know, it's cool. Let me see. I just saw one that I thought was about reading and I was scrolling by too fast. I think I lost it. No. I just realized I didn't ever sort it to be English only. Oops. Oops. Vibe. Hold on, let me switch to here. Alrighty. Vibing. People are just be watching anime on here, huh? Boo 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 boo. I'm like memorizing this piano noise. Season 4 finale was today, so it poppin'. Yeah, and you said something about the final season is gonna premiere, right? That's That's a lot. I know that one's been running for a while, and I know you've been a fan of it for a while, so... Next January. Oh, that's quite a bit to wait. I understand, though. Like, that makes sense for TV shows. I'm just saying, from a fan perspective, you have to wait till January. But I get that. I actually just remembered 7 Deadly Sins is supposed to be coming by soon, so that's exciting. Gotta wait a whole year. Oh, it's the finale, huh? This person's reading something. Let me look. Yeah, this person's reading something. I don't know who this person is, but let me turn off my... Oh. They're reading the Bible, actually, so maybe not. That's really, really funny. Oops. I need to make sure it's in English. Oh my god. This is insane. I've never really gone through these, and I'm losing my mind. Do you guys ever just look through... Because, like, I'm looking through... Oh, you found someone. Hold on. Let me look. Twitch is muted for me. Stay muted. Do you want me to raid the... You want me to raid, Oh, it's Dune reading. Huh? Is that what it is? Because I'm, Oh, yeah, that is what it is. Okay, yeah, I'll raid that. I didn't even see the name in the corner, so I literally just was like, is this... is this, just a desert thing? I almost just modded. That's not what I do. I want to do raid. And then it's... That's a very fun name. Okay. We shall raid there. Thank you so much to everybody for coming and listening and talking for a little bit in there. It's always a good time. And yeah, this is super calming and super fun. No, I'm going to raid, Annie. I don't want to look for that long, and it's another reading stream. It's perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. So yeah, good night. If you're not following and you'd like to, go ahead. My socials are down there. I don't know when I'll be streaming again because of school, but yeah, thank you so much. And I will see you later. Goodbye, everybody. Mwah. Have a good one. Thank you again for coming. Always a good time. Yes, and get some sleep. Bye.